All right, so this is video number 20 of this 40-foot landing craft build. I got some of the front end framed on that cabin, and we'll take a walk up here and check it out. Really like the half round roof. It's just really cool looking, and it's a good shape. So I got two pieces left here, and there'll be a piece across the center. They're about 5 inches tall or so that a big wave, if it lands on the deck, can't come into the cabin. That door will probably just end up being 3/4 inch plywood for now. Kind of short on metal, but I do have enough to do those two sides there, and I think I have enough to put one sheet across the back of the boat, which I thought that I was going to have to use plywood for that, but I think it's going to work out where I have just enough to go ahead and get this entire cabin done in metal and really not have any plywood except maybe this front door. That door probably looks big to you because it is. That's a 36-inch opening there for that door, and I see a lot of boats that have a submarine type door to go into the cabin. So I mean, right here where this cabin is, this boat's 11 feet wide right there. So I mean, I have room for two big windows and a wide door. So why not put a wide door on it? If your boat's big enough. Let me get over here and kind of get a little bit of shape. I was gonna go two directions with these windows, but I decided to keep it simple, and basically they lean out about 8 inches there, and this visor that I put on, that thing extends past the window, past here. That's 10 inches. 10 inches of overhang on this visor, which is really cool because anytime you can keep your windows from getting water on them, it's a huge plus. I mean, yeah, you're gonna have a windshield wiper there, but it's not the same as having a window that doesn't get water on it. And I'm not saying that won't ever get water on it, but I'm saying that's a 10-inch overhang on this visor. It comes across and comes in front of these windows. At the top, it's 10 inches of overhang, so that's cool. I'm really happy with that. And these windows, they slant inward. So you can see that a second ago right here. So they slant inward right there, which is kind of nice also. So I ended up taking the verticals down, the 1x4 rectangle tubing that I had in there. It really sucks when you get to a point where you're actually having to think about money and stuff. And I should have just put the 2x4s up the other day to support that ceiling when I had put some of this 2x4 rectangle tubing up there. I just wasn't thinking, because I ended up having to take that stuff down, the 2x4 rectangle tubing, because I needed it. Or it's 1x2 rectangle tubing, and I needed it for some of this framing, and ended up putting just 2x4s in there to hold that ceiling, because I still have to get on top and weld that main seam all the way down. And I also still need to come back in here and do all of this welding. You can see it's just everything's stitched. Everything's just tacked right now. Now, unlike the rest of the boat that was welded fully, all of this 1x2 in here, there's a row right here, there's a center row, and there's another one on this side over here. And then the windows. I was able to have enough 1x2 rectangle tubing where I went ahead and put dividers in between where they were. So now those spaces are smaller than where they were because I put the center divider between each one. And what I want is, you know, a window on each side eventually. And but none of this in here will be welded fully. This will all be stitch welded. You know, there'll be a weld, skip that spot, weld that fully, skip that spot, weld that fully. And the reason is it's not the hull. You know, it's a different story when you're talking about the hull of the boat and you start talking about the cabin. To me, it's not as critical. I mean, you know, it's got to be welded, but it doesn't really need to be welded fully. So that's my opinion on that. I also came in here and put verticals right there, there, basically every 2 feet. Because anytime you build a boat, you know, on the outside of this boat, there's 3 rows of the rub rail. You can see it in past videos. But I don't have any stiffeners running vertically on the sidewalls. And, you know, that's very necessary. You know, when you go back and you look at the hull of the boat, you know, it's completely honeycombed. It's boxed in completely. You can't just run stiffeners one way on a boat, even on the sidewalls or the cabin, and not run them the other way. You really need to box it in because it gives it a lot of strength. And I had this cabin on here the other day, and I was just kind of shaking it, and I actually saw my sidewall flexing right there. Now, like I say, I got, you know, 1x2, or I got rub rail running this way, the length of the boat, but I didn't have anything this way. And so I put those pieces in there, and they still need to be welded. And I'll probably stitch weld those about every 6 inches also. So that is what that is. You got to run your stiffeners both ways. So yeah, I believe I have a piece that will fit in here. I have one more sheet of metal, so I'll be able to box that in back there. And I've got a big table, a piece of table, a glass top table that I'm going to put right in the middle. It's a big, nice oval piece, and it's tempered glass, and I'm going to put it in there because that's where the kitchen is right there. It'll be right above the sink looking out back. So it'll be a pretty nice piece of glass. I don't have money to put glass in this whole thing everywhere where I need it. You know, you're talking about probably $4,000 for all the glass that I want to have on this boat eventually. But, you know, I'm going to do what I can do. And then later on, you know, add more as I make money. The one thing I wanted to talk about today, couple things, I don't know, you know, I got a plasma cutter, and like on these pieces, like on that visor, you know, a lot of times I'll end up cutting that stuff freehand. You just lay your palm upside down, drag the back of your hand, and once you draw a line with a marker, you can cut a pretty remarkably straight line with that plasma cutter, just doing it by hand. They have these tips that you put on, you can drag, but it never fails that they'll start getting clogged up, especially on a 12 or a 20 foot long cut. It'll clog you up a bunch of times, and then it's no longer a nice clean plasma cut. You know, you got a bunch of bullshit you got to grind and stuff. So if you ever get a plasma cutter, they're awesome, but I recommend right out from the get-go, just start freehanding stuff. You'll be surprised how good you'll get. It's just like a torch, but almost easier, in fact. The thing I want to talk about today is, see that sheet of metal right there? That's a big piece of 1/4 inch by, that one is 5 foot tall by 20 feet long. And I talked to Doug about this. Doug's SV Seeker, and he's on the internet. He's building like a 70-foot, it's like a Chinese junk kind of. It's a big steel boat. It's power and sail. The guy's awesome. super smart, comes up with all kinds of good tricks, but I had talked to him about this the other day because it's something that I noticed, and he's going to build an aluminum skiff to go with his big boat. And I just wanted to put this out there, something I never really thought about, but when you stand a sheet up like that, that sheet will eventually relax. And I came across this boat right here has taken the longest for me to build. This project is, you know, like 8 years in the making. I had metal standing up on the side of the shop like that for like 2 years. And the other 4 or 5 boats that I've built in the past when I was younger, I bought the metal and I used it, you know, and I never ran across this problem. But if you stand a sheet up like that, it will relax. And I noticed it when I put the bottom of the boat together. I had 4 pieces of metal that was basically 6 foot by 20 each piece, and I butted up the factory edges and you know, the factory edge, and at one end it was great. I tacked it and I went to the front and tried to pull it together, and I couldn't pull it together. And if you look back at my first and second video, you'll hear me talking about how I had to use a come along to pull those sheets together, and it didn't dawn on me at that time. And so boom, time goes by and I'm doing this cabin, and I have 2 sheets of metal up there, 6 foot wide by 20 foot long, not counting this visor here. And so I go to the back and I push them together and I tack it, and I come to the front, it won't fucking close. It's like literally a 1/4 inch off. That's how much those sheets had relaxed. And so, you know, I highly recommend laying your metal flat. And just to close on this issue, if you ever go to a steel house, aluminum or steel, you will never see them storing their sheets vertically. Everything is always flat. So I started thinking about it, and I'm thinking, yeah, you know, that's so weird. And it took me, you know, I've been on this build now since April, and it's December now, 2015. I started in April. And it first happened on the bottom, and then I saw it again here on these 2 sheets for the cabin, and I finally realized it. You know, I had left my metal standing vertically like that over there, and those sheets relaxed. Long story short, if you got the space, lay your sheets flat, because anytime, you know, if you got to pull that together, I mean, we're only talking about a 1/4 of an inch, but when you do have to pull that together, you get some weird shit going on. You're automatically going to start getting some waves and things like that. And it's just best not to have that kind of hassle, because those are things that you have to deal with as you keep on building. And by far better if you can lay your metal down flat. So anyway, it was just a short video here. I'll do another one here in a few days. We'll get some stuff done. I got that tank coming in right there, so that water tank's gonna go in. I'll be able to close that hole there and blast out some welds. You know, I got probably 3 or 4 days of welding on this entire thing, on this cabin. So make another one in a week or so. Thanks for watching, appreciate it.